It says Jesus went through all of the towns and the villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness. This is like a summary verse of what Jesus did day by day. Matthew said, here's all the stuff that happened on the first day, and you want to know what? Every day after that was more of the same. Jesus had three main components of his ministry. He would teach in synagogues, teach them the Bible. He would go out and proclaim the good news of the kingdom of heaven, which is essentially, guys, God has arrived on this planet. He's your new king. Whatever other stuff you've been occupied with in the past, turn from that now and give yourself to this one extraordinary opportunity that will never come again. And he invites people into the kingdom, and then he heals every disease and sickness. Do you know what impresses me the most about this passage? What word jumps out at me off the screen? It's the word every. Every disease and sickness. I imagine Jesus coming into a town and setting up shop, sitting down on a stool, and the line just forming for people who want to get healed, who need a touch. And Jesus' batting average when it comes to healing people is 1,000. He never misses a one. He heals every disease and sickness that comes his way. That's what the kingdom of God is like. And you see this kind of pattern that there is in ministry that Jesus establishes. It's one of healing, being side by side with teaching. It's one of good works being right next to good news. It's one of works and words side by side. There's always these two components that come whenever Jesus is in town, and it really sets up a model for you and I to be able to be doing ministry. This is what the kingdom is all about. And 2 times in chapter 9, it says that the news about Jesus spread throughout the entire region. And it's no surprise that news about Jesus would be spreading in this kind of environment. I mean, there's all kinds of used-to-bes walking around that are spreading the news, and people would take note. Like the used-to-be blind guy is showing up without his guide and going into the marketplace and inspecting the figs to see if they're any good. You know, the used-to-be paralytic is signing up for the track team. The used-to-be tax collector is giving away all of his money. And the used-to-be mute guy just won't shut up. There's all these used-to-bes, and so everywhere he goes, people have heard about his reputation, and there's a mob scene. And one day we encounter Jesus walking into a mob scene in verse 36. This is what Jesus sees when he and his 12 ministry assistants walk into this one town. It's a town that's full of needs. And it says this: when he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. I imagine all these people crammed into a town square. They'd heard about Jesus' power, so they came running when they found out he was coming to their town. Some of them were running just to see the show. But some of them were running in because they had a very real need. And when Jesus looked out and he saw a crowd of people, he didn't see a bunch of nameless, faceless people. He connected with pairs of eyes. And he knew that behind every pair of eyes was a story. This guy's been married for 3 years, but he's having a hard time loving his wife. And that lady, she's the fashion leader for the city, but internally she's quite depressed and maybe even suicidal. And then there's that guy who had a birth defect that he's been living with and trying to fight against even his disadvantages his entire life. And then there's that girl who was sold into slavery by her own parents and has been abused every single day since the day that she was sold. Jesus looks out at these people. He knows the stories that are out there, and he has compassion on them. His emotive response is one of saying, my heart hurts for these people. These people were his holy discontent. He saw that they were stained and broken and lived lives of pain. And that's why he went from city to city to city. More than that, that's why he left the throne room of heaven in order to come to planet Earth, because he had this holy discontent about the pain that exists in people's lives. Now I want to ask you the question, where is your area of holy discontent? Where is it that you look out on a crowd and you have compassion for them? It could be in the area of trafficking. There's been a lot of people who have been kind of whooped up about that in the last few months. Maybe it's about racism or injustice or poverty or illiteracy. But what is it that catches your heart that when you see that you go, I just can't stand that happening anymore? When you look at people, you look at them as being harassed and helpless. This is what Jesus sees when he sees the crowd, people who are harassed and helpless.